Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Automotive Podcast. My name is Sammy Haj Assad, and with me, as always, is my good friend and fellow automotive journalist, Benjamin Hunting. Say hi to the people, Ben.
Greetings, human listeners.
Greetings to everyone. This week we've got some fun features to talk about because, well, to be frank, I'm on vacation, so this might be a little bit different than the usual episode, but I think new listeners and regular listeners are going to have a lot of fun. And as usual, you can always come on over to the website, unnamedautomotivepodcast.com, to give us more ideas or tell us what you liked or participate and engage, because we'll talk about it later. So, Ben, the thing I want to talk to you about this week specifically were car trends. And while we're always looking at like the new car trends that are showing up, and that like die unceremoniously, like, I don't know, NFTs or something, or the new trend of AI, I would like to tell you about I would like to share with you or ask you all of the weird car trends that have shown up and then disappeared over time.
Well,
And what you thought or you
they're
remember.
not necessarily weird, right? Like, I think some of the trends are cultural, especially stuff related to styling, and I think some of the trends are engineering related. You know, like we knew how to do things a certain way, and then a better way came along, so we stopped doing it.
Yeah.
That would be my take on
Okay.
things.
So then I want to start this conversation off. Car trends that died out, things that we don't see very frequently. I want to start with roofs.
Okay.
Specifically,
Cars still have roofs, Sammy.
cars mostly have roofs. Yeah.
Mostly.
But what about those great cars that used to exist that had half a roof?
Wait, what?
Or a quarter of a roof taken
like
off.
a Lando Lay roof, like way back in. No, but I mean, used to be roofs were for the passengers and not for the driver, because the driver was hired and they were
Yes.
essentially a servant, and
Yeah.
so they were lower class than the people who could afford automobiles. This didn't last for very long. It's interesting to think about the fact that when they first came out, cars were exclusively for people who had a lot of money, but then industrialization caught up very quickly and cars became affordable for everyone. And it's really cars becoming affordable for everyone that gave us roofs
Yes.
over cars. Sorry,
Yeah.
over all parts of a car. So you see these old-fashioned cars from like the 20s or the teens. I think
That have half a roof.
mostly the teens. Yeah, like a roof over the passenger compartment, and then up front there was nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, couldn't they just have extended it? Like, it's
No.
not.
This, I mean, that was back when the design meant something and was not a product of, and that design meant something in terms of wealth or status. But I want to talk to you about T-tops. What happened to T-tops, Ben?
I can tell you what happened to T-tops. They leaked. They leaked all the time.
More so than Target tops?
Yes, because think about it. A Target top, it's a larger piece, right?
Yeah.
And it has more points of contact, or maybe, I don't know if it has more points of contact. You know, to be honest, I don't know if Target tops leaked any less, but there's multiple kinds of Target tops, right? Like,
Yeah.
you could have a Target top like in the Supra that went from edge to edge, and you took it off, and it was, and the Corvette as well.
The
where you
new
took
Corvette.
the new Corvette, but so it didn't completely disappear, right? Like, Target tops are still around.
Yes.
But T-tops-
T-tops are not. They're
T-tops were like, as the name suggests, and it's weird because it's not really a T, it's an I, right?
not.
Like,
It
it's
is
like
a capital I.
capital I. So there's like a beam, like a spine of roof that goes through the middle. And
What
then,
we imagined was structurally important to the vehicle.
yeah, I mean, but how structural can it really be? It's so thin, like it can't be more than a foot, right?
Yeah.
Any case, I'd say, I guess it's larger on some vehicles, but the parts that came off were over the passenger and over the driver. And
Wait.
so
Yes.
the reason they leaked is because quality assurance in the 70s and 80s sucked, and the materials that they were made of, just they flexed like crazy. And we're talking about, not only are the T-top materials flexing, but the car itself has like the structural integrity of a wet noodle because of the era that we're talking about, right? They didn't really know how to, a lot of body on frame stuff was still around. They didn't really know how to make a stiff car. And even if they did make a stiff car, the T-top itself wasn't stiff. So something was going to flex.
There actually, this is not a dead trend, I've realized.
What do you mean?
There is a modern car, I think one modern car, with a T-top like roof.
Okay.
I think it's the Hummer EV.
Oh, wow. I'm looking at it now, and it's only over the back. So
No,
it's
you
like,
can remove them, I think.
but it's like Targa in the front, T-top in the back. Is that what I'm seeing?
There are bars that can be removed or added as needed.
That's That seems really complicated.
It's really unnecessary.
Like, how much do these bars? That's the other thing. T-tops.
How much do they cost? How
much do they weigh? Because
right.
I mean, any removable roof that's a solid, piece of whatever, it's going to be a person who has to deal with that. And it's not just the weight of the roof, but it's also like how tall do you have to be to remove it? How far do you have to lean over to remove it? And what kind of grips is it going to give you? Like a T-top, at least I think is convenient compared to a Targa roof because it's a smaller piece, right? And then you have to store it. So where are you going to put it? In the trunk, in your garage?
At least with the Hummer EV, that's solved because the car has tons of space and a bed. But I mean, you've got a 200,000 or however much this car is now. I think it's $100,000. That is, I don't know. I just love this. I love the idea that it's got 4 roof panels and one eye bar, one removable eye bar. The rear eye bar is not removable. That's so funny. I can't believe I thought this trend was dead, and GMC picked it back up.
The Hummer is just full of stuff that's supposed to make it unique and different. Like there's the crab walk, there's the fact that it's called the Hummer.
Yeah.
Like
it's a
that's
bunch of revival.
Yeah, it didn't need to be called the Hummer. I mean, they didn't rename the Silverado and the Sierra are still there. It's anyway. But yeah, I don't really miss T-tops. I feel like another reason why T-tops are gone is because convertibles are essentially gone too. Like,
no, but I think convertibles got significantly better too.
Oh, they got way better, but I think so few people buy convertibles these days that convertible derivatives are maybe on the wane. And
talk to all the Jeeps out there that like to use their cars like convertibles.
So, yeah, but I don't know, like how many people do you think buy a Jeep because it's a convertible?
I don't know, but I think that's part of it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, sure. I do think it's part of it for some buyers. Yeah. I like it. I think it's cool. But even if you look at Jeep, they offer that. What's it called? The Skyrider? Is that what it is?
That convertible, the power roof,
the power removable. So like it's essentially rolls the roof back so that you don't have. So it's a convertible basically, and not a removable thing, which is like speaks to maybe some people not like. I don't know. Are you a soft top Jeep person or are you a hard top Jeep person? And like, is there any crossover in there?
Right.
I'm not sure. I don't have the numbers for that.
Why? We need to get those numbers. We need to run some diagnostic. No,
I mean, there's one affordable convertible on the market from North America right now, the Mustang. Okay. There's one, and I guess the Jeep too, if you really want to push it. I don't know if I'd call the Bronco affordable. It's not as cheap in the base form, I don't think.
And then there's on the Japanese side, there's
the Miata,
right?
Yeah. And is there anything else?
I'm sure there's Germans, right?
Well, all the German stuff is luxury. So you start to get into like Boxster and the Z cars from BMW.
But even I think 4 Series has a convertible option, doesn't it?
What does? Sorry?
BMW 4 Series?
Yeah, but that's still a luxury car, right?
Yes.
So I think you're cut off for like, and the 2 Series, is that available as a convertible still?
I don't think so.
You probably have to pay $50,000 for a convertible in the luxury side, minimum.
That's a lot.
So there's just back compared to like in the 90s when there were still T-tops hanging around, you could get like a convertible Geo Metro, you know?
Yeah,
you could get a convertible Pontiac Sunbird or a Cavalier or a Super, these cars were
I forgot about those, of course. There is a 2 Series convertible.
So anyway, that's my thought on T-tops. But Sammy, I'm going to raise you because while we're talking about roofs, there's another type of roof that you never see anymore unless you live in Florida, and that is the vinyl roof.
Okay, so full disclosure, I don't know what the deal is with a vinyl roof. I don't know why it exists. I don't know why they only exist in that particular market.
You've come to the right podcast because I have the answer to half of that question.
Half of the question. Yes. Okay, hit me with it.
The reason vinyl roofs were popular back in the 60s and 70s, which is kind of the heyday of the vinyl roof. And then you see like a long period that drags on into the 80s where you get kind of not just vinyl, but like weird fabric roofs, which is more what you see today. Like in Florida, you'll see like the kind of, you touch it and it feels like felt or something.
Okay.
The reason initially was because it was a way to cover bad welds on a roof.
Thank goodness.
You could do a pretty terrible job of assembling a car.
Which is what they did.
And then cover it with vinyl. and the customer wouldn't see it. Not only that, they wouldn't see the water underneath the vinyl being
Ooh.
held against those bad welds and creating a terrible rust situation.
Okay.
So, like, the reason we don't have vinyl roofs anymore is twofold, in my opinion. The first is we got better at assembling things.
Or at least welding.
Yeah. Second is people got really tired of having their roofs rust out.
Really? I
Well,
thought that was a feature.
you would get it.
It slowly turned from a roofed car to an unroofed car.
To a convertible, to like a
Yeah.
no top instead of a
No
T-top.
top. Exactly.
Think about sunroofs when you don't clean the drains, right? And how you can get corrosion inside the A pillars and at the back. So
Uh-oh.
it's
I have to run outside for a minute. I have to clean my car's drains.
it's mostly at the A pillars, but like you can sometimes get water that comes in the roof itself, and then your felt roof panel inside the car gets all ruined from water. But with a vinyl top, that drainage could just go everywhere.
Yeah.
So like, top of the windshield rust and back of the back window rust and all that fun stuff.
So
So
when you look at used cars in the market, or somebody who's looking at a used car in the market and it's got a vinyl roof, you tell them watch out.
no, because anyone who's looking at a car with a vinyl roof is looking at a car that's so old that the vinyl roof is legitimately the least of their concerns. Like they probably have a long
list of things to check out before
yeah, they're already
that. A lot of
worried.
many more pain points.
They're focused on the other pain points.
Or the fact that it's still got a roof means that that's not a problem.
No, it's not. That's not true at all. That's like saying that if you have undercoating, what's under the undercoating is you never have to worry about it. Like
That's fair.
sometimes the roof is only vinyl.
So then does that mean that it's likely that those southern markets that have more vinyl roofs on the vinyl roofed vehicles on the road just haven't been dealt the same card that we have in terms of weather, right?
No, it's not. That's a different concern, because if you're in a southern part of the country, and I mean the United States, because southern Canada doesn't get this hot, but you have a different thing to worry about, and that's the vinyl cracking, because
the heat.
the heat, yeah, it's going to ruin the material. So like, it's not uncommon to see cars in the South that have had the vinyl tops removed, and in fact, a lot of people just, if they restore the cars, they don't put the vinyl back.
Okay.
Because it's an added expense unless you're in love with the look, or it's a certain type of car like the Pierre Cardin cars that were made for AMC and whatnot, with like a very special type of, or not AM. I think he made them for AMC, but I think Chrysler got a few designer cars too. In any case, unless it's a really cool pattern, I mean, why do it?
I want to continue this conversation. It's an exterior design thing that I want to bring up. Wood paneling is gone, essentially, yes?
It's kind of migrated inside, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. I was thinking, like, I was looking at that Cybertruck, and I was like, maybe that would look better if they put wood paneling. I mean, anything would make that thing look better, but...
So I own a car with wood paneling.
Yes, you do. What's it like? Is there any... Because, listen, different, like, exteriors require different kind of treatment in terms of, like, cleaning or detailing.
So the problem for me is my wood paneling is very old, like 35 years old, and it's torn in a couple of places. And
Do you count the rings?
No, I don't count the rings, but I do avoid any type of automatic car wash, because the pressure jets would just rip this completely off the vehicle.
Just the jets, even like a touchless one, huh?
Yeah, it's the pressure, water pressure, because it's a veneer, it's a vinyl veneer, and on top of that, on my car, it has like a wooden surround, like a frame, like a picture frame, and that's made of plastic. And you can't, if you remove it from the car to replace the torn wood, you can never put it back because it's too warped when you remove it. So you really have to do everything new all at once. So you have to be super careful if you're concerned about that kind of thing.
I was trying to figure out what the last wood paneled cars would have been.
Probably Chrysler wagons or Chrysler LeBarons, the sedans and the convertibles. And I would say late 80s, maybe early 90s, but definitely late 80s.
Apparently the Buick Roadmaster was sold wood paneling.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
The mid 90s.
Yeah, that was sold until 96. That's right.
That car has something that I also would love to talk to you about in terms of dead trends, which is, I think, jump seats.
There's also the well, that's not dead because you can still get those. The vinyl, the wood vinyl applique was also available in the Grand Cherokee for a short period of time.
Oh, the new one.
When that came out in like 92,
Mhm.
I don't know how many years you could get it, but there was a wood vinyl package that you could get. So like kind of like a cluster of wood vinyl at the early 90s. But speaking of
Okay.
jump seats, you're talking about the way back in wagons, right?
Yeah, I mean the backwards facing seats.
Yeah, that's still available from Mercedes. And
Really? Oh, the wagons.
I want to say Volvo had it until really recently, and you can get it in the Tesla Model S.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Strike that off the list. Although 3 cars having it is no longer a trend.
Well, you brought up the Hummer EV, which is one car.
Okay. Talk to me about what else. What else do you think is something that has died out? Or
Uh,
that we're not
Pop-up
seeing anymore?
headlights. And can you tell me why?
Safety.
What about safety?
They don't want people getting hurt by these things.
Is it really getting hurt? I thought it was more the shape of the front end was dangerous.
Well, yeah, I think that it's not the headlights that are the issue. It's like that whole wedge shape, I suppose, is dangerous to people.
I think also there's a lot
pedestrians.
there's pedestrian safety requirements in Europe that require like 8 to 10 inches of dead space between the engine and the front of the car, if
Mhm.
I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And I think that like once that you can't put a headlight in there. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't have a mechanism in that dead space.
That's
It's not
sad. I mean, I understand. Protecting people is really important. Um,
so you
but
say.
but the pop-up headlight enabled such unique and creative designs.
Yeah, I
that
like it.
think, like when I think about pop-up headlights, I think about the cars that you idolized growing up, or you had posters of on the wall, and that were all really these really cool designs, right? And then now we have cars that have really upright front ends or similar, this overly done grille dynamic. That really, if we were able to, close that again and put those pop-up headlights again, I wonder what we could achieve, right?
Now, I have two, not rebuttals, but maybe comments on what you just said.
Okay.
And the first would be, do you think that if those headlights hadn't been something from our childhoods, that we would still like them? Like, if they
Yeah.
continued to this day, do you think we would still like them as much?
Or
do you think it's because they represent an era?
Well, I think you're right in that they represent an era. But sorry for missing the pronunciation on it. Apparently,
It's okay.
But I do think that there was an animated aspect of these pop-up headlights that made them more endearing and humanized them in a way. They looked like eyes or whatever. You could like wink them in a way. There was something about them that just made the vehicles more charming, I think.
I think the other question I have, or not question, but comment on pop-up headlights is we no longer need to, light design has advanced to an incredible degree, and we no longer have to hide ugly fixed beam headlights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you can take glass and shape it however you want. Whereas in the past you had like a square headlight or you had a round headlight. And if you had a front end that didn't jive with either of those designs, you needed to hide that headlight until you needed it. And I think that was a big part of why we had them.
That's a great point, because now we can have like daytime running lights that are basically LED strips, and they can be of all kinds. There are like all kinds of designs now.
We got illuminated emblems in the middle of the grill, hypnotizing like wildlife as we drive by.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that.
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Did you have a car with pop-ups? No.
I did. I had a Miata. I miss it. I miss it every day.
Only thing that
RIP my Miata.
The only thing that I look at these pop-ups now is how they all kind of like break in some way or another, right?
Yeah, but that's like you said, it's part of the mechanical charm, right?
Yeah,
it's low on it's on the list with the vinyl roof.
Okay, let's keep going.
Also, like they can function as an air brake if you're driving really fast and you need to stop and your brakes go out. You can pop the headlights and create aerodynamic drag.
Effective aerodynamic drag?
Don't try that. It's just a theory.
What is the most iconic pop-up headlight to you? Is it the Miata?
To me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When you think pop-up
headlights,
you pick? Do you think... Yeah, I'm asking you to pick. When you think pop-up headlights, do you think the Miata? Do you think something like the Countach? I think the Countach had pop-up headlights.
FDRX7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
C4 Corvette. Opel GT. Porsche 944. These are like the cars that come to my mind right away.
Okay.
When I think about pop-up headlights.
Okay, wicked. Those are good. Those are good picks. I think those are that RX-7. I mean, the RX-7 has a lot going for it. The pop-up headlights are just they enable that though, right? They
Yeah, for
enable that
sure.
wicked design.
For sure.
That's a great point. Okay, let's keep going. How many two-door SUVs are there on the market, Ben?
3.
Defender, Jeep, Wrangler, and
Bronco.
Bronco?
Yeah. I don't think there's more than that.
And there used to be, as you mentioned earlier when we were talking about the roofs, the T-tops are there used to be all kinds of
Yeah, there used to be like a dozen.
A RAV4 used to be available in two-door, which
Via
was like,
Cross.
oh yeah,
You had Ram Chargers. You had 2-door Yukon GTs. You had 2-door Chevy Blazers. You had all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. And not only did you have 2-door Chevy Blazers, but you had like a full-size 2-door Blazer and a compact Blazer that was like the Ford Bronco 2. All those compact SUVs that came out in the 80s, except for the XJ Cherokee, came out
I
as
thought that also came out as a two-door.
No. Yeah, it did. Sorry. But as a 2-door first.
Yeah.
I think the XJ was 4-door and 2-door at the same time, but I know that like the S10 Blazers and the Bronco 2 never got a 4-door. They all debuted with a 2-door. And
yeah.
I know why we don't have them.
Why?
They're super impractical.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like a sports car, but it's a truck.
But I mean, the same thing. You can say the same thing about full size coupes, right? Like there used to be an Accord.
Yes, but the coupe is supposed to be impractical. The SUV is supposed to be a useful vehicle. Like I have an obsession with Via Crosses, and I almost bought one.
What's the problem with being useful for just two passengers, right?
Well, because you're driving like imagine a 2-door Hummer EV, and you're like, "What's the problem with my 2-door Hummer EV?" Like it's the same question. It's you don't need
the problem is already presented by being a big, large vehicle.
Yeah,
and
like if
the amount of people or doors doesn't change it.
No, but if your needs can be serviced by a 2-door SUV, you could probably get by with a hatchback.
That's the world. That's wrong. That's what's wrong with the world. If your needs can be served by a completely other uglier car, go take the ugly car. That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying is like unless you're off-roading, you probably don't need the SUV. If you only need 2 doors, because unless you're a family that needs the space, I don't know. It's not my job to tell people what to buy, but I am saying that
we do consult a lot, though.
But I am saying that people don't buy 2-door SUVs because it's a hassle. I mean, no one buys coupes anymore either.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The Solara. I mean, they used like we talked about
the Solara. That's where your mind goes. You're like, oh, there's so many gorgeous coupes in the history of the world, but I'm going to say Solara because I have a disease. I have a
Toyota Camry Solara,
an aesthetic disease. Next up, Sebring.
Yeah, comes to mind as a car that nobody needed or wanted.
What about the Dodge Avenger? There you go. There's another. There's another 2-door coupe for your collection.
I stole a tangent away from you. I'm really sorry. I stole a tangent away from you because you were about to talk about a beloved car known as the Isuzu Via Cross.
Everyone I know who owns a Via Cross, which is 0 people, but online I follow people who own them, and like
so you're almost like you know them.
The rear seats are like totally useless, and a lot of people just take them out.
Yeah,
so they can have more cargo space.
Mm-hmm.
That's my story. That
was the end of your story.
Yeah.
If you want one, right? I know you've. Since
I almost bought one. I put a deposit on one and then I walked away because it was super rusty.
Since I know you, I feel like you've sent me so many Via Cross listings on Marketplace or
all day I dream about Via Cross, ADIDAV.
And what is it? Is it the 2-door element that appeals to you?
No, I like that Via Cross is the weirdest thing you could buy from the 90s. I think it's like, it looks like a moon vehicle, and that really appeals to me. I feel like it looks like nothing that was built before or since. And I think because of that, it transcends its era. Mm-hmm. And I think that you're driving like a time dislocation device when you're in a Via Cross. It's just something that no one's going to be able to place. And it's strange. And they only made like 5,000 of them. So it's rare, and they have the value has never gone up, which is super weird to me. So all of these things together, I like driving things that other people don't drive. So yeah, I mean, what the Via Cross is like the ultimate version of that.
And I think similarly, I really like the 2-door version of the Toyota RAV4, especially a manual model. Is like it's a really neat idea, I think, to have what is supposed to be a mainstream vehicle just for you and a passenger. You know what I mean? Like there's something.
You just don't want to share. What about your child?
I think there's enough space. Well, I don't even know if those things have latch anchors anymore.
They don't even have seatbelts.
V-Cross is a cool idea. FJ Cruiser, would you call those weird rear hinge doors?
That's not a 2-door.
That's not a 2-door?
No.
Interesting. We're going to talk about that one day, I think.
What about a Mini Clubman?
Yeah.
Is that a 2-door?
Is it an SUV?
No, it's not. But I'm focused on the doors now.
Oh, okay. The doors thing. I hate talking about doors. I hate when things are called 5 doors. You brought it up. I hate when things are called 5 doors when it's just a hatchback because you
5 doors is confusing. I don't get it.
You don't enter the vehicle from those doors, right?
Veloster's not a 4-door. I rest my case.
It's a 3-door. Yeah, sure. So I always think that a door signifies how you enter the vehicle. Okay. So I think Clubman is a coupe.
A coupe, not a shooting brake.
Or shooting brake. Yeah, sorry.
So what do you have any before we wrap this up? Do you have any more trends that you want to kind of circle over and say weird stuff about?
Yeah, of course I do. Remember when you said wood paneling has gone inside the vehicles as well? They were matched almost exclusively with analog clocks.
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't think so?
No, I think that analog clocks became divorced from wood paneling because luxury companies embrace them as a way to. There was like a weird period of time that still goes on today because you can still buy. Can't you still buy like the Chrono package or whatever from Porsche?
That has a clock on the dash?
Sport
Probably.
Chrono? Yeah. It became analog clocks became associated with ultra luxury. And whether you were an ultra luxury brand or a regular luxury brand trying to imitate an ultra luxury brand, like Infiniti, you know, is a great example. Lexus, all these companies had these analog clocks. And they're still around. You know, I don't understand why analog means luxury because these are the same companies that are trying to give us like the M-Bucks hyperscreen.
Yeah.
But that seems to be how it's gone.
Listen, if they could put an analog clock on the digital screen, would that be cool?
Look, there was an Infinity,
or if there was a cutout in the screen itself
that was just. It's like, you know, those cell phones that have like the always on portion of the screen. Yeah, like that. I
mean, like, you know how you can get a screen protector that like has a notch in it for your camera or something or your speaker.
Like like the Mustang Mach-E screen that has the notch for the volume knob.
Yes, I want one to go on the top of the screen, but instead of the volume knob, there's an analog clock in there. Completely unnecessary.
I think I drove an Infiniti that had an analog clock and a digital analog clock at the same time.
Beautiful. You'll never be late, or you'll always know how late you are.
You know what would be real luxury is analog clocks on the headrests for the rear seat passengers.
Why?
Because, and 2 of them.
Yeah, one on each for
not
each
one. Yeah, definitely. And there's a stopwatch function.
A chrono package in the rear in the rear of the armrest.
I'm going to be 100% serious for a second. Why has this never happened?
Analog clocks for the rear passenger?
Yeah, like that really seems, and it's nautical a little bit too, right? Like,
can you imagine driving somewhere and then looking up to your headliner to see an analog clock and be like, we're not going to make it?
I mean, the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer has something like 75 square meters of screens, right?
Yeah.
But they never talk about how many analog clocks that means they can't have. It's a 1-for-1 thing. Like, until someone comes up with the technology you described where there's a cutout for the clock, you're basically wiping analog clocks off the order sheet.
That's fair. Okay.
Is it fair? I don't think it's fair. I feel like it's an injustice to analog society.
Well, I mean, the point is, the even worse situation is sometimes when you turn off a screen or you want to put it in its like minimal mode, it just gives you like a digital like display of the time, and it looks really uninspired because it's just a bunch of numbers. When for years we've had this like association, as you say, with analog clocks in a car. And even if you could present that again one more time with an analog clock on a screen, that might look interesting. I don't know.
One more point about for any luxury car company.
Yes.
For any luxury car company out there that's listening, if you want to really,
and we know there's dozens of them.
If you really want to up the ante with your analog clocks, I have 2 suggestions. The first is manual wind up, so it has a key that you have to stick in and twist and wind it up, and you have to do it on a regular basis. And then when you go to like the dealership and your clock isn't working, they know you're not serious about luxury because you haven't been keeping up with it.
Your monthly payments go up.
Your monthly payments go up. Second, steam powered clock.
No, we're not
That's
doing
all
this.
I have. Mic drop, steam powered clock.
No. Where is the steam being generated from?
Sammy, mic drop.
Okay, right. Can you pick up the mic for one more second?
Not if we're going to talk about my weird clock idea.
No, I'll take that out. You know, an automaker that thought they had something is BMW. They thought they had something with gesture controls, which are now being discontinued for the next version of their infotainment systems. This is the funniest thing I've ever heard because they really believed that everyone was going to get right up on this.
Gesture controls, a technology no one asked for, no one used, and is perhaps most notable for muting the music when you pump your fist in the air because you really like the music. That's been my experience with gesture controls. Although, I want to say BMW says they're getting rid of gesture controls, but they have the adaptive cruise control system where you look at the mirror and it changes lanes. That's a gesture.
That's a gesture. That is a gesture. That's more face tracking, I guess.
But it's still a facial gesture. Like nodding. Yeah. Nodding is a gesture.
I still believe that if you presented your middle finger to the screen, it should honk the horn. I think that would have been a well used gesture.
Is it honking at you or is it honking at just outside?
Just in general. It's expressing your frustration in total.
The other sad thing that BMW is losing is the iDrive controller, and I'm bringing this up exclusively because that means we won't get any more Swarovski crystals.
They'll figure it out.
On the rotary controller.
A-pillar or something like that.
I guess it could still be on the shifter, which is primarily where it blinded me in direct sunlight. But that's a super unique feature. I feel like Swarovski crystals are going to be, 20 years from now when someone's having their Neuralink podcast or whatever, they're going to be talking about that. Like, hey, remember when you could get Swarovski crystals? And the people are like, what are Swarovski crystals? And I'm like, well, back when the sun wasn't trying to kill us, it reflected light in this beautifully intricate carved pattern of glass.
I think Swarovski still has its moments. I think you can...
in a car?
Yeah, I think... while they won't be used on the shifters, there was a moment when I think Mercedes used them as reflection device or reflections in their light fixtures.
Yeah, nothing says reasonable
something like
replacement.
That, right?
Nothing says reasonable replacement and repair costs like Swarovski crystals in your headlights.
Yeah, Swarovski headlights.
Yeah, I remember those
in the i7 as well.
Yeah, it does look. I mean, it's something. It's definitely. Not a normal light. I'll give him that.
This is the headline I read on Jalopnik. The secret of Swarovski crystal headlights, they're stupid and fake.
Why are they fake?
Apparently, I don't know. There's 47 crystals in the headlight.
Demonstrably not fake.
Mm-hmm.
I challenge anyone to eat 47 crystals and tell me they're fake.
No,
tell me they're fake.
I don't.
Please no, I'm not in our audience. Just good. If you're a Swarovski hater.
Okay, great.
I think that wraps us up, though.
Yeah, let's close it up. But of course, I would prefer it if we sent a similar question to our listeners. Are there any trends that you wish would return? Do you want more ashtrays in cars, for example?
Let us know because I'm pretty lonely. Sammy's gone, which was the thrust of his elaborate intro. He's on vacation for a while, so we're doing these podcasts in advance so that we want you guys to have something to listen to over the summer and so you don't forget that we exist. But it would make me feel less lonely to hear from anyone in our audience about this or any other topic, maybe even about how you feel about Sammy abandoning you as well. You can reach out on social media. I'm at Hunting Benjamin on Instagram. Sammy's at Sammy_hot, like you're laughing. You can go to unnamedautomotivepodcast.com and there's a contact form there. Fill that out, send us the message, and it shows up in our inbox. Or you can email the old-fashioned way, benjamin@benjaminhunting.com.
I love that. I can't wait to hear from you guys. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Bye.